Hi, I'm Ela again. You're welcome to SKIR Recap. I know different setting, this is not what you're used to, and all of that. My apologies. Working on something, I've had some challenges, but it's okay. I just thought to myself that if I don't keep doing this, then it's just going to be another failed project, and I don't want that. So even if I'm not doing the recording with what you've been used to or what I started with, we can still have these conversations. It's not just about the recordings, it's about having these real, honest, and enlightening conversations. So we're going to have that conversation. Now, the sisters and I have been having conversations, though I haven't been around for quite some time, but I'm back now. And last week we had a conversation on these videos that were trending online about a man who refused to sign the consent form for his wife to have a cesarean session, and then on a lighter note, a man who was caught by his first wife, having a wedding, a second wedding, and then she went there and she was spraying the man, that kind of gesture. So I just want to quickly touch on the both of them. Now, for the second video, which is about the man who was getting married secretly, and his first wife, got a wind of it and went for the event, and she seemed very composed and all of that. She was even spraying him monies and congratulating him and all of that. The question I want to ask is, I'm talking to the man, why did you go through all of that? Why, if you wanted to get married to a second woman, why didn't you just tell the first wife and divorce her if she can't stay and deal with it? And then you move on to your new wife, per se. Why all that secrecy? And you were still caught. Like, really, guy, what is it? Because if this second woman was, you finally found the love of your life, why are you starting something as beautiful as marriage with so much secrecy and so much drama already? Because you're already having a dramatic celebration because your first wife showed up there and she was even hailing you and all of that. That's already grounds for a lot of issues. And what were you even thinking? What was his game plan in that? And the conversations we had in the studio was just centered around that. And then we also looked at the woman's composure. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do what she did, but she did what she did. Maybe when you find yourself in, because some would say, when you're not the one wearing the shoe, you can't really never say never. So I don't know if I have it in me to, behave as maturely as she did. Now, is it maturity, or is it a lot of pain that she has learned the art of masking, for her to have come up and did what she did? I don't know. I can never tell. Moving on to the second story, which I would say had a lot of, it got to me. The video of the man who his wife was in so much pain, she needed a cesarean session, and the man just wouldn't sign the consent form for whatever his reasons were. I don't know, but I don't think that it was valid, because you're talking about someone's life. I don't know if they have kids, but you're talking about the mother of your kids, the life of the mother of your kids, the life of the woman whom you stood in front of people to say that I love this woman and I want to get married to her. You're talking about her life, and whatever his reasons were why he didn't want to sign that consent form, I would never, for the love of God, understand what his reasons were. But I do not think that in 2026, I'm actually really shocked that in 2026 we still have those kind of men who would want to, risk the life of their loved ones because of whatever reasoning that they have. Now, it could be financial. Yeah. We looked at it from that angle. It could be cultural. It could be spiritual. It could be social. Now, social in the sense that he might be one of those persons who feel ashamed saying, oh, my wife gave birth through a cesarean section. Spiritual in the sense that he attends one of these churches that they don't allow, not like they do, like they frown at it, because they'll say, oh, you're not giving birth like a Hebrew woman and all of that nonsense. Like I'm emphasizing on the nonsense, because it is what it is, nonsense. Or it could be cultural, where he has a mother or he has sisters who are saying, no, if your wife no born through the vagina, she's not a real woman. Because actually, there are women like that who think that way. So sad. Yeah, I know. So it could be cultural, and then it could be financial. The fact that he doesn't have the money to foot the bills for a cesarean session, and that got us talking. And one of the sisters in the studio raised a point, and she said, pregnancy is not an emergency. It's 9 months now. Even if you are not aware that you're pregnant for the first 3 months, which happens sometimes. 6 months, rarely. Well, sometimes it does happen. At least you had some months to plan for it. And when you're planning for pregnancies or pregnancies and delivery, plan for both scenarios. What if this happens, or what if that happens? Those are the scenarios you should be planning for. What if it's a cesarean session? What if it's a vaginal birth and all that? And then she also made another point. She said, it's not just about the man saving money. You, the woman, you're the one carrying the pregnancy, right? You also should save and have monies for that. Because what if you're pregnant and then, for whatever reason, maybe the man leave you on that one day, or the man is not available, like for whatever reason, God forbid the man dies or something, you have to foot the bill, right? You have to put to bed, you have to give birth to that child. So also plan. It just goes to show that planning is actually very, very important from both parties, on both sides. The man should plan, the woman should plan. Yes, what if? There are a lot of what ifs. And then on the issue of him not signing the consent form, some sisters were of the opinion that hospitals should revisit these policies where they would say, oh, the man has to sign. Or looking at it legally, a woman cannot or would not be able to sign a consent form when she's in so much pain. Like, because someone can argue, if they want to sue a hospital, they can argue and say, I hope I'm correct though, if I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I read about it, so if I'm wrong, then someone should let me know. But what I read is that if a woman is already in that much distress, it's not like the one that she just came all like sanity intact, everything, she's not in any form of pain, she just came and decided to go for an elective surgery, that she can actually sign for. But if she was trying to give birth to her vagina and then there are complications and she's in so much pain, she's not in the right frame of mind at that point in time, the hospital will say they don't want her to sign, because if anything goes wrong, the family can say, well, why did she? They could sue and they might actually have a case. And then also another thing I raised at the studio is the fact that women should understand that they have a right to choose who their next of kin can be regarding birthing, like in the hospitals. If you know your husband, you know him, to an extent, although they didn't know person finish, but you know this person. If you know that he's the kind of man that has issues with women birthing through a cesarean session, friend is not that kind of person. Or your mother or your mother-in-law is not that kind of person. Or even your siblings are not those kind of people. My dear, please, jejely put them there as the ones that can authorize that. Like if that happens, they can sign it for you on your behalf. People need to get informed, and people need to try to know these things. It's not just about, oh, okay, I don't marry, I won't born. You should know what the implications of some of these forms that they give to you to fill at the hospital is for. Ask questions. Okay, so where is the place that I need to write the person's name that would sign just in case it's a cesarean session? Okay, and then you should also have these conversations with your spouses. It's not just about other our genotype, our blood group, are we AS, are we SS? Yes, those are very valid and conversations that you should have, but you should also have these conversations because it's important. Because it's important because there are men who think that way. So you should know the kind of man you're tying yourself to. Is he that kind of person? So have these kind of conversations, create scenarios and ask, what if? What would be your reaction to it? How would you handle it? There's that. And then also to the hospitals, it's not everything that is a cesarean session. I think hospitals are now beginning to make monies out of it, because we all know that having a cesarean is quite expensive, and that's a lot of profit for hospitals. So if it's not an elective and it is not life-threatening, please allow the woman to birth her child if that's what she wants. Okay? That's if it's not life-threatening and she did not come to say, I want to have a cesarean session. Allow her to birth her child. Okay? Don't push for a cesarean until she asks for one. There's that. Then, I know a lot of persons might come for me for this, but do I look like I care? I don't. I had this elderly woman who was sort of giving myself and a friend of mine an advice, and she made a statement. She said, women need to understand that when they're planning for their children, like the number of kids they would want to have, don't just plan based on your husband's finances. Plan based on your finances. In fact, that should be your number one yardstick. If you can handle two kids, 3 kids, based on the standard of living you've been giving your children, or you plan to give your children, you should know, if I'm going to have 2 children, with the level of my financial strength, would I be able to give these 2 children the standard of living that I want to give to them? Can I afford that level of standard of living, whatever your standard of living for what the standard of living is? If it cannot accommodate 2 children, born 1. If it can accommodate 2 children, born your 2. If it can accommodate 3, give birth to 3. But it should not be based on your husband's financial strength. First off, it's your body. And then secondly, what if something happens? Like your husband is no more, or your husband leaves you, he run, because then they run. We know. Or one thing happens or the other. And then you're left to cater to these kids. And then it feels like you're overwhelmed. You're going from 10 to 1 in split seconds. You can't even cater to your kids. Why? Because you didn't think about your financial capacity and strength while you were birthing your children. You were just born, because the man say, make with a born. So you too, you were just born. You just born. No. And you should have this conversation. Now, I didn't expatiate. I didn't really talk deeply about this in the studio, but that's why we have the recap here, because there I can really have these conversations with you guys, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are. What I'm saying is, marry men that you can have these conversations with. Before you get married, there are a lot of things to talk about. This is one of them. Have these conversations and ask your husband or husband-to-be, what if this is what it is? So that way, the man knows that I have to settle my wife. I have to ensure that this woman stands, so that whether I'm there or I'm not there, she can handle. You get? So he's able to help you in your capacity building and all of that, your financial strength. Okay, let's do it like this. And even in the cases of wills and all of that, so he's ready. He has, like they'll say, don't settle your side. That kind of thing. And you also too, as a woman, settle your side, so that tomorrow you will not have kids that you cannot take care of, and then you are running from pillar to post looking for who to help you and all of that. I understand that most times we want to get emotions into all of this, get emotional about all these things, but life is all about planning and being strategic. You need to be very strategic about things that you do. So if you don't have the capacity to handle 3 children, then don't give birth to 3 children. Give birth to 2. If your capacity can handle just 2, give birth to 2. If it's just 1, give birth to 1. When you have built your capacity to be able to handle more, you have more. So, it shouldn't be that difficult. I just feel that people are not really talking about these things, and so a lot of young girls don't even know that, they need to do these things. Like, they need to have these conversations, make these plans. and all of that. Anyways, when I started this video, I said that yes, this is not the usual setting that you guys are used to. I'm working on something. I apologize. I'm working on something. But before I get to where I want, this is my capacity right now. So, do you want to have the conversation with me, or are you looking for the format setting? I'd love to hear your thoughts, okay, and what you think about these issues I've raised and what I've talked about. Let me hear what your thoughts are, and let me hear it in the comment section. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. Remember, this is SKIR Recap, where I'm not afraid to have these bold conversations with you and to highlight these bold conversations. Y'all need to know. We all need to know. And I'm not afraid to tell you what my sisters and I said in the studios. So, until next time, as a woman, you also have a say in everything. Learn to allow your voice be heard. You're not just a silent person. You're being your person. So occupy, okay? And be the best version of you at all times. Alright, that's so much I can take on today's episode. I'll see you again soon. I'll see you soon. Alright? Bye.